Good morning, my dear student. Today is 18th of April 2021, Sunday, of course, the first day of the week. Today we're going to read from the Odyssey, part 1, the adventure of Odysseus. And to remind you, Odysseus was one of the key warriors who surrounded the city of Troy in order to get Helen, the queen of Sparta, back to her husband. And actually, they keep surrounding or sieging Troy for 10 years till Troy fell down. Now Odysseus is in his way back home, and because of the violence and the savagery that he used in attacking Troy, all the gods became very angry and they decided to punish those people. So Odysseus, in his way back home, it turns into an adventure because he met a lot of obstacles. That's what Homer has mentioned in his second part, which is the Odyssey. The first part was, if you remember, the Iliad, telling the story of the Trojan War or the falling of Troy, and the second part, which is the Odyssey, he mentioned the adventure of Odysseus. The adventure of Odysseus. Okay, if you open your book, page 561, you will find the story starts by the characters, mention the characters, and then followed by each name, followed by two brackets, how to pronounce the name, as long as they are, all of them are Greek names. So that's why maybe the pronunciation of some letters may differ. So that's why he mentioned for you how to mention each names, and who was this character, So right now, I'm going to play the record, and we're going to stop at the end of each verse. And we know that this is an epic, and epic means a long story written in a form of a poem. That's why it's divided into verses. Each verse contains here 5 lines. So we are going to stop at each verse to mention the meaning of the words and to explain it for you. Okay, so please bring your book next to you and try to follow me in reading the epic. Okay, hope that you are ready. Fine, let's go.
From the Odyssey. Part 1 by Homer. Translated by Robert Fitzgerald. Epic poem. Background. The Trojan War. In the Iliad, Homer focuses on the final year of the Trojan War. In the Odyssey, he tells what happened to one of the key warriors afterward. It begins with strife. According to legend, the Trojan War began when Ares, goddess of strife, brought among the gods a golden apple inscribed, "To the fairest." Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite all wanted that apple. They asked Paris, son of the king of Troy, to decide which of them deserved it. Each tried to bribe him. Hera offered power, Athena wisdom, and Aphrodite the world's most beautiful woman. The famous judgment of Paris was that Aphrodite was the fairest. Soon, on a diplomatic mission to Sparta, Paris met Helen, the world's most beautiful woman and Sparta's queen. With Aphrodite's help, the two fell in love and eloped. When Menelaus, king of Sparta, could not persuade the Trojans to send his wife Helen back, he went to his brother Agamemnon, who called on all the Greek rulers to honor a pact and go to Troy to fight to bring Helen home. The Greeks agreed and sailed to Troy. They laid siege to the city, but for 10 long years could not breach its impregnable walls. War crimes and punishment. Agamemnon might have been a more powerful king and Achilles a superior warrior. But Odysseus, king of Ithaca, was cleverest of them all. He devised a scheme in which the Greeks left a great wooden horse outside the walls of Troy and tricked the Trojans into taking it inside. That night, the Greeks hiding inside the horse, Odysseus among them, slipped out, unlocked the gates of the city, and allowed their fellow warriors to come swarming in to defeat the Trojans and sack the city. The fighting was brutal and destructive. King Priam, Paris's father, for example, was killed while he was praying. The Greeks' behavior angered many of the gods, who made their voyages home very difficult. Odysseus was no exception. Following the Greek victory, he set sail for Ithaca but encountered a series of perilous misadventures that made his journey last 10 years. It is this difficult, adventure-filled journey that Homer's Odyssey recounts. About the author. Homer, born approximately 850 BC, died approximately 750 BC, is credited with writing the Iliad and the Odyssey. For almost 3,000 years, these epic poems have captured readers' imaginations and inspired countless works of art and literature. From The Odyssey, Part 1, translated by Robert Fitzgerald. By Homer.
In the opening verses, Homer addresses the muse of epic poetry. He asks her help in telling the tale of Odysseus. Sing in me, muse, and through me tell the story of that man skilled in all ways of contending, the wanderer, harried for years on end after he plundered the stronghold on the proud height of Troy. He saw the townlands and learned the minds of many distant men, and weathered many bitter nights and days in his deep heart at sea, while he fought only to save his life, to bring his shipmates home. But not by will nor valor could he save them, for their own recklessness destroyed them all. Children and fools, they killed and feasted on the cattle of Lord Helios, the sun, and he who moves all day through heaven took from their eyes the dawn of their return. Of these adventures, Muse, daughter of Zeus, tell us in our time. Lift the great song again. sailing from Troy. 10 years after the Trojan War, Odysseus departs from the goddess Calypso's island. He arrives in Phaeacia, ruled by Alcinous. Alcinous offers a ship to Odysseus and asks him to tell of his adventures. I am Laertes' son, Odysseus. Men hold me formidable for guile in peace and war. This fame has gone abroad to the sky's rim. My home is on the peaked sea mark of Ithaca, under Mount Neon's wind-blown robe of leaves, in sight of other islands, Dulichium, Same, wooded Zacynthus, Ithaca being most lofty in that coastal sea, and northwest, while the rest lie east and south. A rocky isle, but good for a boy's training. I shall not see on earth a place more dear. Though I have been detained long by Calypso, loveliest among goddesses, who held me in her smooth caves to be her heart's delight, as Circe of Aea, the enchantress, desired me, and detained me in her hall. But in my heart I never gave consent. Where shall a man find sweetness to surpass his own home and his parents? In far lands he shall not, though he find a house of gold. What of my sailing, then, from Troy? What of those years of rough adventure weathered under Zeus? The wind that carried west from Ilium brought me to Ismarus, on the far shore, a strong point on the coast of Cicones. I stormed that place and killed the men who fought. Plunder we took, and we enslaved the women to make division equal shares to all. But on the spot I told them, "Back, and quickly, out to sea again." My men were mutinous, fools, on stores of wine. Sheep after sheep they butchered by the surf and shambling cattle feasting, while fugitives went inland, running to call to arms the main force of Cicones. This was an army trained to fight on horseback or where the ground required on foot. They came with dawn over that terrain like the leaves and blades of spring. So doom appeared to us, dark word of Zeus for us, our evil days. My men stood up and made a fight of it, backed on the ships, with lances kept in play from bright morning through the blaze of noon holding our beach, although so far outnumbered. But when the sun passed toward unyoking time, then the Achaeans one by one gave way. 6 benches were left empty in every ship that evening when we pulled away from death. And this new grief we bore with us to sea. Our precious lives we had, but not our friends. No ship made sail next day until some shipmate had raised a cry 3 times for each poor ghost unfleshed by the Saconis on that field